Thank you for coming. I'm here to talk to you a little bit about getting started on film and Kickstarter. My name is George. I'm a member of the film team here. Before we get started, I do want to touch on some Kickstarter basics. As you know, we're a funding platform for creative projects. We're proud to be a vehicle to creative expression of all types. We're happy to serve as a home to a diverse community of creators and backers alike. Kickstarter by the numbers. To date, we've seen over 77,000 projects funded with over 7.5 million backers and over $1.4 billion pledged. Looking deeper into our backer numbers, we've seen 2.3 million people back more than one project, and 250,000 people have backed more than 10 projects. In fact, 62% of money pledged on Kickstarter comes from our repeat backer community. In 2014 alone, 3.3 million people from nearly every country on Earth pledged more than $500 million to Kickstarter-funded projects. I would like to share some examples of projects outside the film realm, just to give you an idea of what kind of creativity we've seen come through the site. With Oculus Rift, we saw creators reinvent virtual reality, opening up new possibilities in the realms of film, games, and more. Debbie Sterling used Kickstarter to create Goldie Blocks. This game's inspiring girls around the world to become engineers. Renowned performance artist Marina Abramovich came to Kickstarter to create a global community of collaborators. And in our most backed project ever, more than 105,000 people helped LeVar Burton bring Reading Rainbow back to the world, inspiring the next generation of kids and in over 100,000 classrooms. These Brooklyn-based designers came to Kickstarter not once but twice to propose the seemingly impossible: a giant floating pool located in New York City's East River. It'll clean our waterways and be open to everyone. And the ArtUSat team launched a satellite containing the world's first open platform for the general public to design and run their own applications, games, and experiments in space. Looking into the film community a little deeper, film is the second largest category on site. To date, we've seen over 16,000 successful projects with over $255 million raised and 1.8 million backers. Annually, 10% of Sundance and South by Southwest accepted films are Kickstarter projects. And we've seen 7 Oscar nominations, including one for Finding Vivian Maier this morning, and 1 win for Sean Fine and Andrea Nix's Innocente, which is a short documentary. Touching on some examples of film projects on the site, small projects to large projects. 79 people helped Trinity Anderson and her dad, Barry, bring their short stop-motion animation film about 2 sheep in love called Me and You to life. Even with a relatively small campaign of a little over $25,000, Bob Berger and Patrick Daniels were able to turn their play about black box recordings recovered from crashed airplanes into a 3D film. And with a goal of $30,000, Jeremy Saunier was able to make his non-traditional revenge thriller, Blue Ruin, and release it to great acclaim around the world. Finally, film on Kickstarter is not just about making movies. People are using the site for many different things, from building cameras and camera equipment to funding film festivals, to saving movie theaters, and in the case of Seattle Cultural Institution Scarecrow Video, saving a video store. So, getting started. Everything on Kickstarter must be a project. Projects must create something to share with others. Projects must fit one of Kickstarter's categories. Projects must be honest and clearly presented. Projects cannot fundraise for charity, offer financial incentives, or involve prohibited items. We use the all or nothing model. For those of you not familiar with the model, on Kickstarter you set a funding goal and give yourself a limited period of time to raise it. Usually we recommend around 30 days, and you will only collect the money if you raise it in time or surpass your goal. The example I've chosen is a short film called The Trip that set a 5,000 pound funding goal and has approximately 850 pounds to go with 3 days left. If they don't reach that goal, none of the backers are charged, everyone walks away. The good news though is usually projects this close to funding are successful. Why all or nothing? It works. It's less risk for everyone involved, both backers and creators. If you're a creator, you're not beholden to anxious backers expecting something for their money. And if you're a backer, you're not left with a feeling of expectation for a creator who might not have reached their initial goal that they had set for themselves. And it's a way of community building and creating excitement around a project. It really creates a we're all in this together kind of attitude between the backers and the creator. Looking a little deeper into all or nothing by the numbers, 44% of all projects are successful. 80% of projects that reach 20% of their goal are funded. And 82% of all money goes to successfully funded projects. 56% of projects that aren't successful, 11% do not receive a single pledge. So the first thing you should be thinking about when you're starting a project is who are your backers, who might be interested in your story, and who's that community. Your backers are your fans, your friends, your internet, and your press. Your backers are your community. They're going to be the early adopters, the people who are with you from the beginning of your project onward, who are the most vocal, the most supportive, helping you get the word out about the project, and wanting to be as involved as you would like them to be. As you begin to put pen to paper or finger to keyboard, think about your story and how you're going to share it with your backer community. Your story can unfold in a few different ways. Through your project video and story, which is seen as an introduction to your work. Through your rewards, which is an opportunity for you to share what you're creating or a unique experience with your backers. And through your project updates, which are chapters in community building, not only during the time your project's live on Kickstarter, but you can also continue to update backers throughout the life of the project beyond Kickstarter as it progresses through completion, through filming to completion, to release, and so on. So getting started with your project video first, your project video is an opportunity to invite your community into your project. Share what you're doing, why you're excited, and why people should be excited for you. So I am going to share a video with you that we've put together, compiling a lot of different clips from projects, videos we've liked throughout the years. So here we go.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
What's up, people?
Hi.
Hey.
Hello. I thought we were gonna do hello.
Hi. I love your new shoes. Are those new shoes?
Hi, my name is Raquel.
And I could go on, but this is a Kickstarter campaign video, and I haven't even told you what my project is yet.
So the idea is this.
I'm writing a book.
A feature film.
Stop motion animations.
Sci-fi music video album.
Let people actually be able to buy a couture dress that they themselves design.
I want to make a new graphic novel, and I want you to get some original art.
This time I decided to write things that were more lyrical.
I hope to make something strange and unique for you to enjoy.
I made a film called Codependent Lesbian Space Alien Seek Same.
Right now, I'm sitting on over 200 hours of incredible footage.
I'd like your help to complete it.
Cut out all that extraneous stuff, all those extraneous costs, and get to the point, which is simply more art in front of more people.
The last piece of the puzzle is going to be you.
We cannot do this without you. We can't.
We need you to be a part of this. This is a collaborative experience.
If you back this Kickstarter project, you will be cool and everybody will like you.
I want to make a show that you don't just watch. Something unpredictable, strange, and maybe even amazing.
So let's do this thing.
I'm really excited for this. I think that this is worth doing.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching our Kickstarter video.
Let's go make a story.
We can make it together.
So the one project I would like to focus on today is a documentary called The Viking of 6th Avenue. I think the creator did a really good job of telling her story through the story section with her rewards and the pricing of the rewards, and through her continued project updates, which she's still doing through as late as this past January. She funded end of last June. So 1,488 people helped Holly Elson create this documentary, which is a film about a New York street performer named Moondog. Taking a look at the page and how it was laid out, I think they did a really good job of using the format of the Kickstarter page to break up text, image, bolding, etc., to pull the viewer and the backer into the world of Moondog. A good rule of thumb with the story section of your project is to think about the who, what, when, where, why of the story. Looking closer at these screenshots, you can further see their usage of text, graphics, and design elements along with images to tell the story of what they're doing. Here it's them talking about why they chose Kickstarter and why they're here. And then they talk a little bit about themselves, their experience why, basically why they should be trusted to actually complete what they're saying they can, along with sharing archival images as well as behind the scenes footage or images of what they'd prior been shooting. Your backers are going to be your most vocal supporters, and I think the Viking 6th Avenue folks did a really good job of addressing backers on the page before they even got into deeper into the project. So here you see examples. Well, first of all, they show all the various social networks that they're on and where you can link to them and follow along outside of the Kickstarter project itself. But also, they're asking for people's direct input and involvement into the project, asking if anyone has photos or images, video, etc., that they would, audio recordings in this case, that would be interesting and that people might want to send in and basically make it part of the movie. Looking at the rewards are an opportunity to share what you're creating or the creative process or a unique experience with your backer community. Looking at numbers, we found that $25 is the most common pledge on Kickstarter, and $100 is the tier that generates the most money. All the while, that said, it's important to bear in mind that you should consider every potential backer from the $5 backer to the $500 backer and think about offering a wealth of rewards across that entire spectrum, and you can go up to 10,000 on Kickstarter, so even thinking that high. Looking at the most popular rewards tiers from the Viking of 6th Avenue, I think they had a really great entry-level reward, which is a $10 playlist of Moondog's most iconic songs. It was a digital download, so it was no cost to them to create, and it was easy to send out. It didn't require any shipping of any kind. For $25, they offered the film, which is a good idea. It's very important to offer a copy of what you're making, as that will ultimately be the most popular reward. In this case, it was with 340 backers. And then for $50, you have the choice between a limited edition t-shirt or tote bag. All told, these there were 638 people who backed these three projects. They had 1,488 total backers. So it was really the bulk of the project. And these three tiers alone raised $18,000. I also wanted to show some mid-tier rewards they were able to offer, bearing in mind that not everyone's making a documentary about a New York street performer who has like 60 years of history and 60 years of random albums and 60 years of TV appearances and so on. But it's really important to kind of think about what your project is and what you're able to offer that's unique to the world, because every project is different and every project has something that might not otherwise be available unless you're able to share it with someone. So in this case, they have a $50 vinyl that they're offering, Moondog record, along with the $25 download. For $125, they were offering a reproduction of a 1967 pamphlet that Moondog had made. And for $200, they were offering a limited edition portrait by artist Sebastian Verhees. Again, it's really important to think what your project is and what you can offer to the world. And it's also important if you are like, in their case, they did magnets was one of the rewards, but also they were doing t-shirts, tote bags, that kind of thing, like a lot of graphic-based items. And it's really important that if you're offering something that's graphics-based and you've finished that design before the project's finished, it's great to be able to share that with people. So here you see on the project page, they were sharing this magnet that they had designed for the project. And here's some other things they had done throughout the project. You see the $200 portrait that I'd previously mentioned, along with a leather purse that Moondog had designed, or he had drawn up and designed, and they had gone ahead and actually produced for the project. And then just a very simple reward they did was a $500 Moondogs New York, where there were two options. You could either they walked around New York, did a video tour, and then they share that file with you, or you could actually go on it with them and kind of hit all of Moondog's haunts. Again, think about what kind of unique experience you can offer people. Going on to project updates. I like to think of project updates as bonus features on a DVD or a Blu-ray. Project updates serve as your project's blog, not only while it's live, but again, long after it's completed, this section of its life. They're a chance to share news, behind-the-scenes looks, and so on. It's an opportunity to engage with your audience in a meaningful way and pull backers into your story and interact with them. Again, the Moondog creators used the project updates pretty well, not only while the campaign was live, but throughout the entire time. This is their first update, which they sent out after the first day. The important takeaway here is they touched on their first 160 backers and how important they were to them to get where they were at the end of that first 24 hours. And then they shared some media they'd managed to get for that first day. Again, touching on the importance of thinking about what's unique to you and your project and what kind of video and photographic access you can offer backers. In the case of Moondog, they were already probably about halfway through shooting when they came to Kickstarter, so they had a bank of footage they were able to share with people that ultimately wasn't going to be used for the finished film, but they could use it for these purposes and kind of continue to tell the story of Moondog and tell the story of the Kickstarter project and basically excite people about what they were doing. So in this instance, they're sharing, this is just an image from it, but they shared a behind-the-scenes video, extended interview with Jarvis Cocker of Pulp. Really, you could only see this if you were backing the project, basically. And again, they touch on social networks. As I mentioned earlier, it is good if you have a graphics-based project or are offering graphics-based rewards. It's great to be able to share what those images are with people if you have it. And this is a case where they added a Moondog pin badge 3 weeks through the campaign. And they showed what it was. Basically, this was a new reward. And it's another way of updating, is just, hey, we're adding more stuff. In addition to making this a $20 reward, they also told the backers who had previously backed that if they added X amount of money to the reward, their previous reward, they would be able to get this badge as well. And I have to apologize, I'm forgetting the number is exactly, but it was, it was around 100 or so backers who had ultimately ended up upping their pledge to get this. The one tricky thing there is, if you're doing something similar, is to be sure to keep track of the existing backers who are actually raising their pledge, because you want to make sure that everyone who's maybe put in 10 bucks and is adding 15 or something like that, you want to make sure that you're able to track that they're actually supposed to get this and you're not forgetting them. And then the project ended, and a few months later, they sent out an update about filming. They had continued filming. Here's an update from them in Germany, talking to Moondog had basically traveled between New York and Germany and had his designated street corners in each country. And this is them filming with some people who had known him there. And again, it's just the same thing. Like, it's important to continue to update backers. Backers are going to want to know. The one thing you don't want to do is finish your project and never talk to your backers again. Because you want to keep them happy. They are your key supporters and your early supporters and everyone who really cares about the project. Another way of updates is just as you complete rewards, as you get them together, share that with people. In this case, they had finished the tote bags and were getting ready to send them out. And the people who were making them for them actually did a making of video for them, which was kind of cool added content. So not only were they updating backers with photos of the stuff they were going to get, but they were also able to share a video with the backers. And I will share that video with you. This is my last example of project updates. It's actually my favorite project update, which is maybe torturous to creators. But I love seeing people packing boxes and saying, we're shipping your stuff. And this was just an update saying, hey, we're actually sending out rewards. And they showed, they had offered, one of the rewards they'd offered for $75 was a Moondog biography. And they're showing, they have images of the author autographing everything. And then you have the image of the boxes with all the packages that were going out. This is another just super easy, well, not easy for you to pack, that's a lot of work. Easy update though, that is, backers like seeing that they're getting their stuff. And that's everything I have. I am happy to answer questions.
How are you set up for different language interfaces? Like, I'm doing a project which is about Japan. Is it possible to do the whole interface in Japanese?
The Japanese-based. Yes, I'm sorry. He is asking how do you set up a project with different languages? Not in his case, he's doing a Japanese project. I'm just curious, would you be doing English language and Japanese, or would it just be, okay?
Yeah, I guess my main concern is being able to teach Japanese people how to use the Kickstarter system, because it's a new concept for them. So it would be great if there was some sort of bilingual capability built into the site.
Right. So there's a couple things there. I'll answer both questions actually. Well, first he's asking about creating a bilingual page, which is, so there's a couple ways to do it, right? So the easiest way would be to do English language, Japanese language, or vice versa, whatever you think is more effective. Otherwise, I'd be happy to talk to you afterwards. I can share with you some pages that have actually used the main Kickstarter page, English language, but they've created basically, like one that's live right now is Christopher Doyle Project, and they've done Japanese and Chinese, Mandarin, I think. But it's not on the page itself. They've created their own sites where you click on, you go to the Kickstarter page, you click on it, then they have the Kickstarter page set up in that language. And it's not an official Kickstarter thing, but it's something people are doing, and it's working. The other thing I would like to say is Japan is actually one of our top 10 international countries. Games is very big there, basically. So Kickstarter is actually a known commodity there, I think. So it might not be that much, you're not going to need to educate people about the process as much as you might think, but I think it would be very important to have both languages, basically. Yes?
We have a couple of mics.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, hello. Along those same lines, in terms of getting international backers, can people donate from anywhere in the world, or are there restrictions?
People can pledge from anywhere in the world. I guess the current restriction would be you would have to, if you were a creator, you would have to have an account in one of the countries we are live in, which is currently United States, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, Sweden, Denmark, Holland, Ireland, and England, yeah.
Hi, I was wondering if you could speak a little bit more to the point you were talking about when backers up their bids and how and what resources are currently available for us to track as people make additional pledges.
Right. So we have a backer dashboard, which we have a dashboard, creator dashboard, I suppose. So as a creator, once your project is live, you'll have access to this dashboard, which basically tracks where pledges are coming from. Like if you get an article in the New York Times or something like that, you'll be able to see that, oh, I got $400 there. So that's one method, but also you'll be able to track individually, kind of backer by backer, what they're doing on the page in terms of money being given.
So when you're like brainstorming like awards, for awards, so like they made like T-shirts and like keychains. So should you invest in something? Like how do you create rewards to?
Right.
Yeah.
I think to me, I think it's important to think about. Every project's different, and every kind of set of rewards are different. And I really think that it's a good thing to be able to offer like your film digitally, and as much as you can offer digitally, and as much as you can offer experiential, do that. The problem you'll run into, and I know that I showed T-shirt examples and tote bag examples here, but the problem you're going to run into that you should definitely prepare yourself for, or basically do all the math you need before going into it, is if you're creating physical rewards, there's going to be a manufacturing cost and there's going to be a shipping cost. And think about, like, do the homework, do the math on what that's going to be going in, and set your rewards. If you're going to do something physical, set your rewards tiers accordingly, so that you don't. I saw a project today that offered a $1 T-shirt reward, and that's a bad idea. You don't want to do that. You don't want to end up losing money on rewards. So that's why I do think ultimately, like, it's really important to think about offering something digitally if you can, or something experiential with a backer meeting creator, something like that, where really it's not any, it's costing you your time, but it's not going to cost you any money.
Hi. So some film projects are eligible for fiscal sponsorship, whereby they qualify for 501c3 status that allows them to collect money tax-free. Can you talk about some of the implications of doing that and how that might affect your Kickstarter campaign? And secondly, on the other end, once a campaign is successfully funded, how would you recommend addressing delays that might come along? So delayed shooting schedule, how would you address your backers who might be concerned?
Okay, I have to be completely honest. The first question you asked, I'm always bad at answering, and I would love to direct you to someone who might be able to answer that much better than me after this session, if you don't mind. The second one, I don't want to give you misinformation. I don't want to give everyone misinformation. But the second one, I think, for the most part, backers are understanding. It's really important for you to just keep in touch with them. If it's a case where your project funds and then you don't talk to them for a year, you're going to have antsy, angry backers. But if you're able to, you don't need to update them on a weekly basis by any means, but if you hit like some sort of landmark, like in the case of the Moondog thing, they were shooting in Germany, so this was something that backers might be interested in, so they did it. That was actually the first update they'd done after they'd funded. They funded end of June, that update was early November. So it was a bit of a lag, but also that was something of note they were able to share with people. And so there's that. And now if you're experiencing delays in shooting or finishing the film or whatever you might be doing, again, just as long as you're keeping people updated, for the most part, you'll be fine. There's always going to be one or two people who are grumpy, but overall, you'll be okay.
I enjoyed the case study, thank you. And I missed the first 10 minutes, so I apologize if you've addressed any of these things. But two quick questions. One, are there percentage metrics that you guys recommend, like in the first week, hitting a certain % of your total?
We do have some sort of stat. I'm trying to think of what it is. If you're able to hit 20% of your goal in the first, this is the thing. It's something like 20% of your goal in the first 3 or 4 days. You'll have an 80% chance of success, something like that. But there's no guarantee by any means. Like there is a certain amount of preparation that you're going to have to put into a project, or put into launching a project. And it's important when you're pre-launch, very important to be prepared heading into it. So thinking about before you start and hit the launch button, not only making sure your project's ready to go, but think about what your project updates are going to be ahead of time so you're able to touch on all that stuff, touch on landmarks throughout the project. And you don't need to be 100% prepared because things are going to arise while the project's live. But the more you can prepare ahead of time, the better. So there's project updates, there's getting everyone everyone involved in the films, kind of collective email lists together. So as soon as you hit launch, the next thing you do is you're ready to basically let everyone know you're doing this and getting those early supporters, because your friends, family, and acquaintances and a kind of immediate networks are going to be your base, and they're going to be the first people who are giving to the project. And it's really important to kind of have a strong early momentum, not only from getting pledges, but also letting, you let them know and say, besides giving money, it's really important to share this with people and let them know that this exists. Other ways to prepare ahead of time, as I said earlier, do the math if you're offering something physical, that kind of thing. I don't know. Sorry.
That's very helpful, thank you. And just my second quick question. I know Kickstarter monitors projects and promotes some of them, and I'm wondering, is how well a project is doing one of the factors?
Not
does
necessarily.
that alert you guys to? No.
No, we have a curatorial team who's looking at projects all day, really, not only for film, but site-wide, which is kind of massive. And they're really looking for a good usage, I think, of the platform. Good rewards, good pricing, good video, good story, kind of good storytelling, that kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, they're definitely looking at things, and then the people who are like, I'm one of the film people, there's kind of a person in every category, and we're kind of constantly bugging them about projects, so there's that too. Like, but yeah, I think they're just looking at a good usage of the site.
And would you recommend reaching out to someone in the film department, or do they
I would, I mean, you could. I'm happy to give you my card afterwards or talk to you about your project. Yeah. 5 minutes.
Is there a Kickstarter fee?
Kickstarter, there's no fee to launch a project. And if your project's not successful, there's no fee. If your project is successful, we take 5%. And then there is a additional credit card processing fee of 3 to 5%. So ultimately, if your project's successful, you should budget in 8 to 10% being taken from that.
What is the tax situation? When you are receiving money?
Right. Ultimately, I would say that you should speak to your accountant. But that said, you will be taxed for the project at the end of the year, unless you're able to basically show that this is very general, right? This is why I say you should speak to an accountant. But if you raise $10,000 and you spend $10,000, and if you raise $10,000 today and you spend $10,000 by the end of the tax year, theoretically, you won't be charged anything. Now, if you raise $10,000, you don't spend anything, you will be taxed on that. It'll be considered income. Again, talk to an accountant, though. Yeah.
Are backers more responsive when the creator shows where the money is going to for like what aspect of production or post-production costs? Have you found that?
I think that, I don't think you have to like, it's not absolutely necessary to provide like, here's my Excel chart of where everything's going. But I do think it's a good thing to be able to say like, I'm raising $5,000, this is where the money's going, absolutely. You can kind of be general about that. You don't have to get down to the dollars and cents of it.
Hi, I missed the very beginning also, so I apologize if you went over this. But in terms of the video you create, do you have tips on like what length you recommend? Right. Or I know people recommend the creator being in the video, just in general.
Sure. So I would say to think about making your project video 4 minutes or less, really maybe in the 2 to 3 minute range. That said, my favorite project video is 6.5 minutes long, so there's no science to it. But good rule of thumb is to think in the 2 or 3 minute range. And it is good to kind of, if you're uncomfortable in being in front of the camera, it is good to put someone in front of the camera kind of talking to, this is what we're doing. I think backers really do respond to seeing, like being able to put a face to the name, basically. Sorry, whatever, I thought, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, thanks. I have 2 questions. Do you find that people are more successful raising money for post-production than they are for shooting?
I think, I wouldn't say that people are more successful either way. I think it's kind of same-ish across the board, but I do think that post-production is often kind of an easier project to set up because you have a lot of footage to work with and share with people. That said, I think that it's not necessarily like more popular by any means. It's definitely easier. Okay. As a creator, it's easier, I think.
Okay, thank you. And the other question is, so I did a successful project and I overdid it on the physical rewards. But can you give us some good creative ideas? I mean, other than offering the film as a download experience, like what are good creative rewards for making, narrative short films or maybe a feature that are not going to bog you down in shipping costs and manufacturing and the time and all that it goes into that?
So first, I do think every project's different, so it kind of depends on what it is, but let's just say it's a short narrative film. So obviously offering the short is a good thing, but if you haven't shot yet, offering, if there's a part, like offering to be an extra or be in the background, something like that, or have a day on set. Like backers are really kind of wanting this experience of being involved. And I mean, it sounds crazy, but you could basically have a pledge to be a PA on the project. And that's going to be no cost to you, but you are going to have to kind of be responsible for someone being on set for the day. And that's something to consider. Other things, if you have prior work, you can definitely share your prior work. again, digitally is a good way to go about it. Behind the scenes images, trying to think what else. It's really hard to say without like seeing a project in front of me. But you know, I mean, people are offering like a chance to sit down with a producer, or maybe even like for a higher level reward. In that case, like people have in the past offered, I'll shoot your short, I'll shoot an ad for you, something like that.
All right, two more, one at the back.
I had a question about
sorry.
campaign length. Is there, you mentioned that you recommend 30 days, but is there a funding goal threshold at which that extends, and that if, say, you were trying to raise six figures as opposed to like $5,000, would you recommend a 60-day campaign?
You know, we have seen some creators lately have kind of extended past the 30-day campaign into maybe in the 40 to 45 range, but typically, I don't think I wouldn't recommend a 60-day campaign. That's not to say that it doesn't work, because our most successful project was a 60-day campaign. But I think 60 days on a creator end is a lot of time to devote to the project, and also to build, keep a sense of excitement and momentum about it. I think you just have to think of what like a person's typical, God, I lost my train of thought. Attention span. Thank you. A person's typical attention span is, and the thing is, like you're going to have to hit people throughout the campaign. They're not going to pledge immediately. You might have to send 4 emails before you get a pledge from someone. And 60 days is a lot of time to really kind of keep track of all this stuff, and it's a lot of moving parts. And in our experience with 30-day campaigns, you're going to have a really big first week and a really big last week. And then you have a middle week or middle 2 weeks that are maybe a little slower, but they're also kind of necessary to just let the word about the project spread throughout your community.
Okay, it's great that you have all this data and statistics about, you know, all the successful campaigns, and thanks for sharing it. But can you also share what amount of money has been like the most successful?
Do you mean in terms of like average?
Yeah.
Or,
yeah, exactly.
So this is, I mean, the average successful film project on Kickstarter is around $12,000, but that's bearing in mind everything from web series, short films, to features, to documentaries, to movie theaters, to video stores. Like, it's really across the board. I could probably look it up, but it wouldn't be an immediate thing to get to you. To get kind of, if you're making a short, like what that data is, that and so on, but the average is around 12,000.
Okay, so that's the average. You could maybe break it down by if it's a documentary.
Yeah, see, I don't have that.
Okay.
I don't have like hard numbers immediately available, basically.
So if maybe you could give it to us later, I don't know, but if you didn't, is there any way to find that on the site, or?
I don't think so. We can speak afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can you create a PowerPoint of this? I'm sorry, a PDF of your PowerPoint that can be shared with us?
I think so. I think that should be okay. Yeah, I think that should be fine, actually. Yeah. I think, or is that it? All right. Sorry. So I will be happy to continue the conversation with everyone outside. We do need to take a break and set up for the next session, which will be starting in the next 12 minutes. If so, please join us outside. Otherwise, if you're here for 201 as well, feel free to hang out and just wait for it to start.